Hi guys, my name is Josh with Lead Farmers Tactical. Welcome to our first official video. The video series that we're going to be starting on today is putting together a bug out bag. So today's video is just going to be an introduction to some guidelines for building your bug out bag and also a little bit about gear selection. We're not going to get into any specific gear today, and throughout the video I'm not going to try and get too much into particular my gear as opposed to just the idea behind the gear. But we will go over a little bit of what I've chosen, do a little layout and show you a little bit about it. So, first of all, what is bug out bag? In the prepping community, bug out bag is a 72-hour self-contained set of supplies inside one ruck that, in the event of an emergency, you can grab it, you can go, and you can get out. Now, in the prepping community, there's also something known as an I.N.C.H bag, which is an I'm never coming home bag. This bag also contains at least 72 hours worth of gear, but it is also designed so that you can live out of this bag indefinitely in an outside environment. So 72 hours at least self-contained, and then as you scavenge the environment or hunt, raid, whatever you need to do, you can sustain yourself indefinitely out of that bag. For the purposes of these videos, we're going to call them one and the same, because to me personally, the only difference between a bug out bag and an I'm never coming home bag is your skills and training. So if you know how to use everything in that bag properly, you know how to adapt, and you know how to improvise, that one bag should be everything you need. So that's what we're sticking with today. Now, you obviously might have to refit and resupply, but based on the tools and everything you have there, you would be able to continuously refit, resupply, and advance your survival situation at that point. So, with that said, let's go ahead and talk about some guidelines for the bug out bag. So right there in the name you have bug out bag. So a lot of guys immediately run out and buy their bag first. They get a big backpacking bag or some big tactical bag, or they might just grab a little book bag and start stuffing stuff in there. I'm going to tell you the best idea here. Buy your bag absolutely last. That should be the last thing that you buy, because the bag is important, but you want to make sure that you size the bag to you size the bag to the amount of equipment you're carrying, and you get a bag that's going to work for your particular purposes. If you get a bag that's way big, and then your stuff's kind of shifting around and have a lot of tie downs, it doesn't zip down real tight, you're not going to be able to carry everything comfortably. If you get a bag that's much too small, then you're going to be either tying stuff onto the outside or trying to carry additional bags to carry everything, and that's just going to cause you a lot of problems. So you're going to buy the bag absolutely last. Now, when it comes down to buying your bag, if you bought all your other equipment, a couple of guidelines on buying the bag. Buy the bag a little bit big. By buying the bag a little bit big, not a lot, just a little bit bigger than you need, it allows you to pick up more supplies on the way and add a little extra if you find something that you absolutely need to take with you, or find something that needs to go. It also allows you some shift in your pack, because if you pack the bag really tight and you've really Tetris that thing in there, then when you're on the move and you're packing and unpacking, packing and unpacking, if there's no depletion of your gear, like you haven't eaten or anything, or sometimes just as you pack it back in there, it can be a lot harder to pack it back up, so you're going to be wasting time in a time-of-life situation trying to repack everything properly, and it just doesn't want to fit in there. There's a lot of counterpoints out there to buying the bag a little bit big. A lot of guys say buy exactly what you need and don't buy anything bigger, because if you buy a bigger bag, you're going to be tempted to stuff a bunch of extra stuff in there. That's kind of true. But if you're a prepper, or you're somebody that's preparing for a mass event like this, I would like to think that you're a responsible individual. You can make the decision of what needs to go in that bag and what doesn't, and you just have to have the forethought to know, if I put too much, this is going to get heavy. If you are a person, you know that you're regularly tempted to pack way too much in there, what I would recommend is get a bag that's about the right size, but make sure it has expandability. And what I mean by expandability is it has a lot of outside tie downs. Molly's a really good one because you can get smaller pouches that can attach directly to the bag. When I show you my bug out bag in the next video, you're going to see I have a bag about this size on the outside of my bug out ruck that is strictly for first aid. I can also take that if I need to add extra ammunition capabilities like magazine pouches, or if I want to attach like my suppressor pouch to it or things of that nature. I can attach all that to the outside of the bag even if the bag's full. So that's an alternative. Like I said though, I would stick with buying the bag a little bit large. With buying the bag a little bit large, what I would go into saying is you want to pack properly, okay? Don't just throw everything in there. Make sure that you pack things in an organized manner that you can find it easily in the middle of the night, while you're in a hurry, while you're in a rush of things that you need to get to. Proper packing is a balancing act. You need to balance your weight distribution with your ease of access, with your necessity to access. So emergency gear like a first aid kit, obviously you can't pack it all the way in the back, even if it's something heavier, that by packing it all the way up against your back would allow you to distribute the weight. So you have to learn the balancing act, and in a future video we're going to go over a little bit about proper packing and show you guys how I pack mine anyway, and go over a little bit of backpacking theory. In backpacking, weight distribution is very important because you're covering long ranges with that bag. So you guys are backpackers, you're already going to have an idea of how you need to pack this. If you're not a backpacker, like I said, we'll go over it in a video, but you can also learn a little bit about it online or from buddies that do backpack or any place that kind of teaches that sort of stuff. So be aware of how you're packing your bag. That makes a huge difference. Alright, so you've got everything, you've got your bag, you've packed it properly. Even properly packed, you need to be aware of your weight. So make sure you keep your bag to a good weight that you can walk with, you can run with, and you can move around with. I can tell you, I weighed up my bag with my rifle and my additional ammunition, and the whole thing came out to about 55 pounds. For some guys that may be a little heavy. I'm prior military, like we talked about, I was infantry, so 50 pounds of gear on over a 12-mile march was kind of a standard thing we had to do. It wasn't like a big heavy load. I'm not as in shape as I was, but still carrying 50 pounds of gear, I can do it easily. So if you stay in shape, you can carry a little bit more gear, and allows you to outfit your bag a little bit bigger. Be aware of your packing weight. Don't end up with an oversized bag, with one exception. And we're going to get into that right here. You're going to make your bag kind of modular. Packing a bug out bag, best case scenario, you're going to be able to go grab the bag, throw it in the car, and leave. Okay? With that, since you're going in the car, you can obviously carry more gear. You're not having to cart it around, and then if you get somewhere where you can't carry it, you leave it in the car and you're good to go. With keeping your bag kind of modular, what you can do is it allows you to strip the bag down if you find out that you don't need certain gear. Let's say that it's not a super emergency, it's not the end of the world, you know that you're only going to have to be gone for a couple of days, but you got to leave on foot because the roads are washed out or whatever's going on, the traffic's locked up. You can go through that. It's the middle of summertime, so you can go through there, you can strip out some of your winter weight gear. Whatever type of gear that you have that might be seasonal or might not be applicable to your situation, you can go through there, and if you have it kind of modularly organized, you can go in and rip out a couple of packs of gear that you don't need, zip everything back up, throw it on your back, and leave. If you've got some extra heavy gear, because that's what you're going to take if you have to hit the car, have it where you can easily get to it, so that if you know you have to get on foot, you can rip that really heavy gear out of there, toss it to the side, zip the bag up, and go. Because regardless of what type of gear you have, if you can't move out of the dangerous situation to an area where you're more secure and more safe, all that gear does you absolutely no good. When you're buying your gear, especially gear that's inside the bag, everything that's a major component, one thing I would most like to stress: be frugal with your money. You don't have to buy the super top end $3,000 bags. You don't have to buy some $400 camp stove. You don't have to buy a $700 sleeping bag. Be frugal, but don't be cheap, okay? And there's definitely a fine line, and I've seen guys ride both sides of it. Some guys will not go out unless they have the top of the line everything, and you're talking, for a bug out bag, tens of thousands of dollars of gear. And then I've seen people that they run out and they buy everything at Walmart and pack it all into a JanSport backpack and call it a day. On both sides of that, one, most of us are doing this on a budget, and you have to budget your money out. Plus, if you spend way too much money on that camp stove, maybe you don't have the money left over for your sleeping equipment, or for your hunting equipment, or for a water filter, which is something that you may want to get. So make sure that you budget out properly, so you're spending what you need, but not more than you need to on this gear. Spend your money wisely. Most of the gear I have isn't cheap, but it's definitely not top end. It's really good, solid gear that meets all my requirements, that I know that we're not going to have a problem. So look for durability, adaptability, and a good price point. Plus, search the internet, find it on sale, check around local. I know I bought a lot of stuff that I have on clearance from a local backwoods that we have, which normally sells really high-end gear. I don't shop there very often. But I found a bunch of it on clearance, got it for, anywhere from 20 to 60% off. We have Columbia outlet here. Check your outlet malls. LAPolicegear.com usually has a lot of good clearances and sales. So I think I got a bunch of freeze-dried camp meals off of there for about $1 a piece. Some really good stuff, and I will be kind of testing out, see if it's any good. If it is, I'm going to buy a bunch more from them, because it's only $1 a piece. So be mindful with your money. Don't be cheap, because you will end up hung with the crucial piece of gear that you need at that moment, completely broken, and you're just screwed. Just screwed the pooch, and you're done. Now, with that said, use your gear, guys. Don't buy a bunch of stuff, throw it in a bag, and leave it there for 3 years and think that when you go to grab it, everything's going to work fine, because it's not. It's absolutely not. You need to make sure that you take your gear out, you test it. I use mine every time we go camping. If we go camping, I take out the gear that's in my bug out ruck, and we use it. Obviously, the first aid kit may or may not get used. Hopefully nobody gets hurt. But I also use the food. Before we go, I will buy more camp supplies or MREs or whatever for foodstuffs. I leave those either in the car, wherever we park the car when we go camping, before we go out walking to our campsite or anything like that, or I leave them at home, and I use up what's currently in my bug out ruck, and then when I come back, we rotate the new food in. So what that does is it lets you test out your gear. It lets you break in certain kinds of gear, because some kind of gear doesn't want to work really well the first couple of times. It's stiff, or things don't work properly together. You get it worn in, everything works great. It lets you suss out any weak links in your chain, find out if something's going to break, if something's not going to operate correctly or up to the particular standards you need. And it lets you rotate your perishables. You need to rotate those supplies in and out. Obviously, there's certain types of gear that you don't have to rotate as often. If you get true military MREs, they got a 7-year shelf life, that's fine. But you don't want to come to find out 6.5 years later, when something happens, that your MREs have all surpassed that 7-year shelf life and now all your stuff is bad. You don't want to find out those pills that had a 15-year life, you just left them sitting in a corner, and now they're all past their date, and they're going to make you sick. They're not going to work properly. I mean, that's not where you want to hit. So make sure that you rotate your perishable items and perishable gear well before you get to that point, and use your equipment, guys. Use it. On that same note, your medications. So here's something I was really debating on, kind of both ways. We're not going to go over putting together a first aid kit, because your first aid kit should be built by you using equipment that you know how to use. My first aid kit's going to be different. I may be much less medically skilled than you, and my packages of bandages and quick thought and tourniquets and stuff are not going to be as much as you could make use of. Then again, you may not know how to use anything beyond a Band-Aid and Neosporin, and you can hurt somebody severely with some of the more advanced medical equipment. If you improperly apply a tourniquet, chest decompression needles, just if you don't have the training to use the gear, don't put it in your bag. Put in there what you know how to use, or if you want to put some type of medical gear in there, get the training on it, learn how to use it. That way you don't become more of a threat by trying to help someone than if you had to just basic bandage them up and got them to somebody that was more proficient. So put in only gear that you know how to use. But with that said, two things I will tell you should go in every first aid kit for a bug out bag ever, and I almost never see a guy talk about this in like the bug out videos and everything I've watched to try and see what type of quality I'm working with here. Stomach medications. I don't know why nobody ever talks about this. When you hit a stressful situation, one of the first things that's going to happen is your stomach is going to become upset. To one extreme or the other. Your diet changes rapidly. You're under a lot more stress. You're doing a lot of different physical exertion than you're used to, and you're in a dangerous environment. Stomach problems are the first thing that are going to crop up, whether it be stomach cramps, indigestion, diarrhea, constipation. Make sure that you have a good setup, and not like one or two little packets of pills. Like, buy a couple boxes of pills for anti-diarrheals and stool softeners at the bare minimum. And indigestion pills are also good, antacid pills. If you have a particular tendency towards one or the other, I would highly recommend them. But you get a full couple packs of pills, or capsules or caplets or whatever you want to use. Just stay away from liquids. You don't want that stuff busting in your bag. And pack them in your first aid kit, because if you end up with diarrhea, I mean, at the best, it's just uncomfortable and you're not going to be able to move as far. At the worst, you're going to become dehydrated, and it's going to flush out a lot of your nutrients from your high nutrient meals. If you become constipated, guys, that is like the worst thing that's going to happen, because if you become constipated and your bowels become impacted, you're done. Like, you're done. You're not going anywhere. You're going to need assistance to move because you are useless. Make sure you pack the stomach medications, okay? One last thing, make sure that you pack morale gear of some sort. A pack of cards, small little word games, something in your bug out bag, because there will be a point, regardless of the situation, where you're stationary, you don't have a lot to do, or you're restricted from doing a lot, and morale gear can make or break people. If you have something that allows you to kind of lift your spirits, or kind of get everybody together to kind of group interact and make everybody feel a little bit better, you can deteriorated morale kills the mind, and when the mind goes, the body goes. Having a morale item in there is a non-negotiable for me. Just make sure, guys, that it has as few small and moving parts as possible, because things like that break easily. Absolutely nothing with batteries. Remember, anything with batteries is going to go dead, and unless you have like solar chargers, you may not have a way to get that power back. Also, make sure it's not a perishable item or a depletable item, something that's repeatable. Like I said, pack cards, that's a go-to for me. I throw a pack of playing cards, weatherproof playing cards in my bag every time that we go backpacking, hiking, or go testing our bug out gear. And sometimes when you're sitting in camp, it's nice to be able to pull out something to play. So find some type of morale item, something just for fun that's lightweight and small that you can pack in there, that you can use to maintain morale. So I'm going to make sure that these guidelines are down in the comments, and we're going to have a little list there. And I will definitely put them up on our Facebook page as well, so you guys can go take a look at them if you want. So guys, I really appreciate the support so far, and you guys sticking around and watching. In the next videos, we're going to go over actually laying out the gear for the bug out bag, how to choose some different gear that you should have in there. And we'll continue on. Pretty soon we're also going to be doing a video series on building a ghille suit. So we may end up running these simultaneously, kind of alternating between the two video series. But I just want to give you guys a little heads up. So I really appreciate the support, guys, and you guys stick around listening to us. So again, my name is Josh with Lead Farmers Tactical. Remember, knowing is half the battle, the other half is violence.
Shut up and sit down. Shut up and sit down.